Hello and welcome again to American Freedom Radio. This is the Big Wobble and I am Gary Walton. Tonight the Big Wobble will be reporting on the incredible disaster unfolding in Peru as heavy floods and landslides have killed nearly 100 people and displaced a further 600,000. I will also be discussing and picking holes in the latest report from TEPCO regarding the Fukushima disaster. And while the world has been watching Donald Trump, Brexit, Turkey's President Erdogan and North Korea all week, I will be reporting on what happened to our wonderful planet, and it's literally geophysics on steroids. We will also have updates from extreme weather, mass animal die-offs, earthquake and volcano activity, environment, disease, space weather, climate change and man-made disasters. An update of all events from the week ending 13th of March will also be included in the second half of the show. Firstly, I would like to report on the floods and the heavy rain that have been happening in Peru since the beginning of this year. Nearly 750,000 affected, Peru's Civil Defense Agency reported yesterday. Nearly 100 people have lost their lives as a result of the heavy rain, flooding and landslides. At least 20 regions have been affected. Over 100,000 people have lost everything they ever owned. A further 600,000 plus have serious damage to their homes. There are nearly 100 dead, as I mentioned. Hundreds are injured. 12 are still missing. 10,000 homes are destroyed. 10,000 homes damaged, uninhabitable, 1,500 kilometres of main roads destroyed, 132 bridges destroyed, and nearly 200 cities and towns affected. Peruvians struggled on Sunday, March the 19th, yesterday, to cope with avalanches, mudslides, extensive flash flooding caused by torrential downpours, and forecasters predicted still more rain ahead, prolonging the country's woes. It's been a bad year for flooding in Peru, and the toll, including from the last dangerous weather, now stands at nearly 100 since January, the government said. The devastating damage reports continue to pour in. The National Emergency Operations Centre said 100,000 Peruvians had lost everything since the beginning of the year, while nearly 650,000 had suffered serious damage to their homes. The government has predicted days of more rain ahead. On Saturday, the floodwaters swept into the centre of Trujillo, the country's third largest city, filling its streets and forcing residents braving the waters to cling to each other to avoid being swept away. The huecos, as Peruvians call the powerful avalanches of mud and stone that pour down from the steep Andean hillsides after heavy rain, continued their damaging ways. Mountains of mud filled city streets, sweeping away everything in their paths, houses, furniture, and sometimes, unfortunately, people. Air travel has also been affected. In the city of Piura, streets were again flooded by the effects of El Niño. The periodic warming of Pacific Ocean waters charges clouds with tremendous loads of water, which then fall on coastal areas, sparking avalanches from steep hillsides and causing rivers to overflow. There will be heavy rains in northern regions and in central Lima, the capital, over the coming days. So the alert situation remains in place. Television showed people using boats to move through cities' streets to retrieve belongings, should I say. The city's mayor, Miguel Sotelo, interrupted a presidential news conference Friday to demand help. 3 days and we're still underwater, he said. There is no light or food in my town. He urged the president to provide heavy equipment to help divert the course of the river that has been flooded Huame. The government said it was working to repair 3 bridges in Huame and nearby Casma. Storm-caused erosion also provoked the collapse late Saturday of the Vero Bridge between Trujillo and Lima, and that road is the main road to get from South Peru to the north. Our prayers go out for the people of Peru. It truly is a terrible disaster unfolding. Now then, there's been another report on Fukushima from TEPCO, that's Tokyo Electric Power Company, this week. And the Big Wobble also asked the question, can the Pacific Ocean withstand another 50 million tons of radioactive water as the west coast of North America shows signs of barrenness? In March 2011, as most of you know, a magnitude 9 earthquake, one of the biggest ever recorded, struck Honshu on the Japanese northeast coast, causing a tsunami, the deaths of 18,000 people, and crippling the now infamous Fukushima nuclear plant. Since that day, the stricken plant has been leaking 300 tons of radioactive water into the Pacific Ocean, which is nearly 1 million tons up to now. TEPCO, Tokyo Electric Power Company, claims it will take at least another 40 years to fix the problem, which, give or take, will be another 50 million tons of radioactive water leaked into the Pacific. Incidentally, I would like to add the technology to fix the Fukushima meltdown has not yet been invented. In June 2013, a mysterious illness appeared off the coast of Washington state, which began killing starfish at an alarming rate. The illness was dubbed sea star wasting syndrome. The sea stars were literally tearing their own limbs from their body. The ailment seems to hit starfish the hardest, with smaller numbers of sea urchins and sea cucumbers reported falling to it as well. The illness quickly spread north to Alaska and south to San Diego. No one knows what percentage of the West Coast starfish is affected, but some areas they've been totally wiped out. This was the first clue that all was not well in the beautiful West Coast of America. Since June of 2013, the entire West Coast of North America, Canada, and Mexico included, have experienced massive die-offs of all kinds of creatures. Sea turtles, whales, sea lions, birds, fish, starfish, dolphins, and a whole host of other marine life are dying in incredible numbers, and the experts don't know why. Well, here's the Fukushima update, the latest report from TEPCO. A Scorpion robot sent into a Japanese nuclear reactor to learn about the damage suffered in a tsunami-induced meltdown had its mission aborted after the probe ran into trouble, Tokyo Electric Power Company said Thursday. TEPCO, the operator of the Fukushima nuclear plant, sent the remote control device into the number 2 reactor, where radiation levels have recently hit record highs. The Scorpion robot, so-called because it can lift up its camera-mounted tail to achieve better viewing angles, is also designed to crawl over rubble inside the damaged facility. It could not reach its target destination beneath the pressure vessel through which nuclear fuel is believed to have melted because the robot had difficulty moving, a company spokesman said. All probability, the high levels of radioactivity has blinded the robot, because these robots are designed to crawl over rubble, and if there is an obstacle in front of them, they would be able to see clearly to move around it. So that statement from TEPCO doesn't really stack up. The robots have probably been blinded because of the high radiation level. It's not immediately clear if that's because of radiation or obstacles, said TEPCO, but they're checking what data the robot was able to obtain, including images A massive undersea earthquake on March 2011 sent a huge tsunami barreling into Japan's northeast coast, leaving more than 18,000 people dead or missing and sending 3 reactors into meltdown at the plant in the worst such accident since Chernobyl in 1986. In my opinion, Fukushima is going to be much bigger than Chernobyl event and will, in all probability, destroy the Pacific Ocean. The Japanese government said in December, that it expects the total costs, including compensation, decommissioning and decontamination, to reach 21.5 trillion yen, almost $200 billion, in a process that is likely to take decades as high radiation levels slow operations. Now remember, if it takes 4 decades or 40 years, as what was stated earlier on, that will be an extra 50 million tons of radioactive water leaked into the Pacific. The robot, 60 centimeters, 24 inches long, is made by Toshiba and equipped with 2 cameras and sensors to gauge radiation levels and temperatures. Scorpion's mission is to take images of the situation and collect data inside the containment vessel, TEPCO spokesman Shinichi Nakakuki said earlier. Challenges included enduring high levels of radiation and moving on the rough surface. He said, Radiation levels inside the reactor were estimated last week at 650 sieverts per hour at one spot, which can effectively shut down robots in a couple of hours. But the probe, designed to withstand up to 1,000 sieverts of radiation in total, would not sustain severe damage because it was unlikely to remain there for too long, or at a single point, Nakakuki said. After a manually operated camera probed the deepest point yet within the reactor, TEPCO estimate that radiation levels inside the plant's number 2 reactor have hit 530 sieverts per hour. There are areas where the robots still can't reach, where the radiation levels will, in all probability, be much higher. Radiation exposure at 530 sieverts per hour would effectively shut down TEPCO's planned robot camera probe in under 2 hours. TEPCO said the radiation is not leaking outside the reactor. I also find this a really strange comment when you consider that 300 tons of radioactive water is leaking into the Pacific from the stricken nuclear plant every day. The previous record at Fukushima was 73 sieverts per hour detected by sensors in 2012, TEPCO said. But TEPCO said the high reading focused on a single point with levels likely to be much lower at other spots. However, what TEPCO have not told you, there are other areas the robots can't reach, which are probably much higher than 500 sieverts per hour. I have even heard people mention of more than 1,000 sieverts per hour. It's been over half a decade since Japan's Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power stations suffered a catastrophic meltdown, which topped the international nuclear event scale due to its severity. Radiation loves to hang around, and researchers conducting operations with robots inside the damaged reactors were met with radiation levels at their highest point since the actual meltdown back in 2011. In fact, the radiation level is so elevated that the robot operators had to quickly recall one of their robotic probes because it began to literally go blind. Like sending a rover to another planet, the mission for robot operators from the Tokyo Electric Company is to monitor the status of the failed reactors and the nuclear materials housed within. Unfortunately, the radiation level of the reactor units was high enough to actually begin to damage one of the robot's camera system. and could have completely blinded the view for the operator and left the bot stranded in the radioactive hellscape. Ladies and gentlemen, in layman's terms, what they are saying here is there is no technology that has yet been invented to fix this problem. Humans or robots cannot get anywhere near the reactor long enough to fix the problem. So TEPCO's claim it will take another 40 years to fix the problem is probably a very conservative guess. However, TEPCO was able to study some of the readings taken by the robots before they went awry. The scientists have estimated the level of radiation to be anywhere from 530 sieverts per hour to 650 sieverts per hour. But as I mentioned earlier, the robots have not yet been everywhere, and there's still parts of the reactor where the radiation levels will probably be much higher. To add a bit of scope to that, it's estimated that just 1 sievert will cause fatal cancer in approximately 5% of people, while a dose of 5 sieverts will kill 50% of people exposed to it within a month. As little as 90 millisieverts accumulated over time can increase cancer risk in both adults and children. With 300 tons of this stuff washing into the Pacific every day, how long will it take before it kills the Pacific Ocean? It's a big ocean, but not that big. Later this month, TEPCO plans to send yet another probe into the reactor to take additional readings and hopefully, paint a clearer picture of what exactly is going on inside. Okay, now on to the Big Wobble and its updates from this week. And we'll start with animal die-offs. 40 dead sea turtles appeared so far this year along the Uruguayan coast in the Montevideo area. The deaths are blamed on fishing nets. This weekend, 2 more were found in Punta, Colorado. Since the beginning of summer, more than 40 turtles have been found dead on the Uruguayan coast. 5 such cases occurred in the last 2 days since the storms last Thursday. Those 5 were of the head turtle species, but also green turtles and 7 keels turtles were identified. It's a cycle that repeats itself every year. According to the analysis carried out by the Carumbe staff, the cause of death of the turtles is drowning caused by fishing activity. The turtles are entangled in fishing nets and drown. A terrible death. Thousands of dead fish were found in a canal in Tainan, Taiwan. Nearly 2 tons of dead fish were blamed on climate change. Nearly 2 tons of dead fish have washed up in the canal in Tainan, Taiwan. The thousands of fish appear to die a violent death as climate change is being blamed for the deaths. However, some officials are blaming the discharge of wastewater containing sewage on the deaths. In Turkey, thousands of dead fish have washed up in a lake in Hafik. Ice began to melt in Lake Hafik, which is frozen in the winter. The lake covered with ice was said to be without oxygen, which killed the fish. An ice sheet of about 40 centimetres, which formed during the winter months, began to melt with the warm spring air. Now, I'm sure you people out there are all thinking the same as me. How many thousands of lakes freeze in the winter but doesn't kill all the fish when it thaws? Doesn't stack up? Okay. Millions of dead shellfish wash ashore on Waihi Beach in New Zealand, and they're thought to be the victims of the weather bomb from last week. Most of the dead shellfish, which washed ashore at Waihi Beach this week, have now been removed. Local residents were shocked when they encountered millions of dead shellfish that washed ashore on the northern end of the beach on Tuesday. Jeanette McCallum believed they were pee-pee and posted a video of the finding online, sparking thousands of views and hundreds of comments. A Ministry of Primary Industries said it was in discussion with the Bay of Plenty Regional Council about the incident, but the cause of the mass death was unlikely to be known before next week, which brings us on nicely to the extreme weather this week. And a state of emergency was issued in the DC area, New York and New Jersey this week as blizzards hit the northeastern US. The much anticipated major winter storm unfolded across the northeastern United States and brought travel to a halt as it dumped heavy snow across the region. Thousands of flights were cancelled and school districts across the entire region were closed in advance of the nor'easter. Several states have declared a state of emergency, including New York, New Jersey and the DC area. It was said that heavy snow would continue to spread across the region through Tuesday, with blizzard conditions from northeastern Pennsylvania through to Maine. The government issued a state of emergency as the nor'easter started to bring snow to Maryland on Tuesday night. Excuse me. Although I have had a few more than a few actually, emails from people telling me that the storm was nowhere near as heavy as was predicted, luckily. Deadly lightning strikes killed 6 in India, along with cattle, reviving memories of similar storms that killed hundreds in the region last year. Hailstorms hit parts of Marathwada, India on Wednesday, reviving memories of similar storms that struck the region in February-March 2014, when hundreds of people and livestock died from the lightning. At least 6 people were killed in lightning-related incidents as unseasonable rain, coupled with strong winds and hailstorms, lashed parts of Bade Latur and Osmanabad districts. Loss of livestock, as well as significant damage to mangoes, grapes and sorghum, has also been reported from many areas in these districts. This is very interesting because the increase in lightning strikes, experts are saying, is due to climate change, and there has been a large increase in lightning strike deaths last year, not just in India, Bangladesh and Sri Lanka areas, but also in Europe. And what it says is lightning strikes are on a 12 to 24% increase. The phenomenon appears to be worsening with climate change. Lightning strikes are expected to increase by 12% for every degree of Celsius of warming, a 50% rise in lightning expected by the end of the century. I don't know if you can remember this, but reports last year in America of strange lightning storms, lightning from cloudless skies, strange lightning storms caused widespread bushfires in the US and Canada. Hundreds of people died last year due to lightning strikes in India alone. So there's something to watch out for this summer, folks. It's definitely on the increase. Sounds strange, but it is. Another country which was crippled from drought suffering suddenly have their worst flooding in living memory, causing 70 dead after the worst flooding ever in Namibia. The flood situation in the Kuvele catchment area has reached alarming levels, and residents are being warned to take necessary precautions in expectation of the worst possible flooding experienced here in living memory. 70 people have so far drowned in Oshano, Amusati and Ohangwena regions in Namibia because of any heavy downpours. Namibia, which has been facing the effects of their severest drought in over a quarter of a century for the last 4 years. Some 330,000 people in Namibia are food insecure, 14% of the country's population. Over 600,000 people in the Namibia-Angolan border provinces of Kunene and Hwila do not have enough food or water due to 2 consecutive years of failed rains. But now we have an astonishing turnaround. Namibia is the 5th area this year to witness an astonishing turnaround for drought-crippled regions around the globe. California, Zimbabwe, New Zealand and Madagascar, and now Namibia, all have had droughts wiped out with just a few storms. Freak storm horror. 20 students died yesterday after trees fell on them while swimming in a river during a freak storm in Ghana, emergency officials said Sunday. Ghana National Fire Service spokesman Prince Billy Anaglate said the unusual incident happened on Sunday afternoon when a group of high school students were swimming at the Kintampo waterfalls, a popular tourist destination in the Brong Ahafo region. Anaglate told AFP that a brewing storm caused trees to topple and fall on the teenagers while they were in the water. Now, what is the chance of that happening? Deadly floods hit New South Wales, Australia, with more rain to come. Thousands of people remain cut off due to floodwaters. Thousands of people remain cut off due to floodwaters in northern New South Wales, while the rainy weather looks set to continue for another week. Heavy rain has flooded several rivers and cut off more than 2,000 people. As of Monday morning, 11 flood warnings remain in place, including 2 moderate warnings for the McIntyre River and the Orara River in Glenray. Approximately 1,500 people in small communities in northeast New South Wales are completely cut off due to flooding, while a further 2,700 people in and around the coastal town of Iluka are being periodically isolated with the changing tides. And a huge mystery today as sea waves kill 1 and leave 5 missing in southern Iran. Claims of a tsunami are incorrect. Reports of a tsunami hitting South Iran on the internet appear to be incorrect, as no quake, large or small, has been registered in the area yesterday. A magnitude 4.2 in Turkmenistan on the northern Iranian border was recorded yesterday afternoon, but that's more than 2,000 miles away on the Caspian Sea. However, large waves have been filmed smashing into the port city of Deir in the southern Iranian province of Besher, where at least 1 person has lost his life and 5 others have gone missing. Search and relief operations were ongoing to establish the fate of the 5 missing, with divers deployed to the scene. He added that the waves were estimated to be more than 3 meters high. What caused the waves remains a mystery. Which brings us on to quake and volcanic activity. We've only had 1 large quake or major quake this week, and that was a magnitude 6.0 in India. It's the 14th major quake of 2017 and only the 2nd of March. However, we've had lots of volcano activity. Popocatépetl volcano in Mexico has erupted again, sending ash raining down on towns and villages in the neighborhood. Experts are expecting a bigger eruption. It's one of the most famous volcanoes in the world. The Popocatépetl is one of the most active in Mexico. It has erupted twice during last weekend, sending ash all over its neighboring towns. Visitors to my site can find spectacular videos showing the eruption. Alaska's Bogoslav volcano, which has exploded more than 35 times since the middle of December 2016, became active again on Monday. According to the Alaska Volcano Observatory, the Bogoslav volcano exploded just after 11:31 a.m. UTC, which takes the total of eruptions to 37. The explosion lasted for around 12 minutes and, according to the satellite data, resulted in a large ash cloud. The Chilean volcano in central Chile erupted, and it was followed by 700 minor earthquakes. A yellow alert remains in effect for communities near Chile, located some 417 kilometers or 250 miles south of Santiago. 67 of the 761 tremblers that followed the latest eruption were classified as volcano tectonic events involving a movement of magma, Chile's Geological Service said. And very interestingly this week, Mount Etna in Europe, the tallest volcano in Europe, by the way, a BBC crew was caught up in a volcano blast. Mount Etna, Europe's tallest active volcano, erupted for the third time this year. A BBC team and a number of tourists have suffered minor injuries after being caught up in the incident on the erupting volcano. Many were injured, some had head injuries, burns, cuts and bruises, tweeted BBC Science reporter Rebecca Morell. Lava flow mixed with steam had caused a huge explosion which pelted the group with boiling rocks and steam. They'll do anything to get a story. Could have cost them their life. Two volcanoes, Momotomba and Tolica in Nicaragua, have registered a dense gas eruption located not far from the city of Leon. The Nicaraguan government remains vigilant against signs of eruption in Momotomba volcano, located not far from the city of Leon after an explosion at a crater which registered dense gas and steam as it erupted. According to the specialist of the National System of Attention Prevention and Mitigation of Disasters, the plume of smoke given off the mountain rose about 200 meters over the summit of the volcano. Likewise, the surveillance currently still remains over Tolica volcano, which also showed some increased activity signs in recent days by expelling gases and ashes after a strong explosion in the same region. The two volcanoes are located in the so-called Pacific Ring of Fire, which concentrates most of the world's volcanoes. Nicaragua has at least 58 mountains of this kind, 6 of which are currently activated. Which brings us nicely onto Spaceweather, which has been quite busy as well this week. And we go to Pakistan, where a large meteorite turned Pakistan's night sky into day, followed by huge explosions leaving residents terrified. A suspected meteor lit up the skies in Gilgit-Baltistan late on Wednesday, leaving residents puzzled and terrified. Bright light trails could be seen over the skies for only a few seconds, but the sonic boom that followed some 5 seconds later was more widely heard. The blasts, and I emphasize blasts, could be heard in areas such as Gilgit, Gezer, Diama and Skardu at roughly 9:15 a.m. A witness said, "I was near my house when suddenly I saw a bright light in the sky. The light was followed by huge explosions, which would suggest more than one meteor." Now then, a huge coronal hole has turned yet again to face Earth as sunspot count has reached a 7-year low as solar minimum approaches. Spaceweather.com reports the sunspot count has reached a 7-year low. The face of the sun has been blank, no sunspots for 13 consecutive days. The last time this happened was April of 2010, near the end of a deep solar minimum. The current stretch of blank sun heralds a new solar minimum expected to arrive in 2019-2020. Is space weather coming to an end? On the contrary, the latest in a series of large coronal holes has turned to face the Earth. NASA's Solar Dynamics Observatory is tracking the opening, which researchers call a coronal hole. The large coronal hole in the sun's atmosphere has swung into geo-effective position today, and solar wind flowing from the hole is expected to strike our planet's magnetic field and spark G1 to G2 class geomagnetic storms later on in the week. Regular visitors to the Big Wobble will be aware coronal holes are the main earthquake factor. The dark patches, sometimes covering more than half the entire face of the sun, indicate that the interplanetary magnetic field connecting Earth to our sun will be experiencing huge fluctuations of energy. These huge fluctuations increase, then decrease pressure on our planet, causing major quakes and often volcano activity. The speed of these fluctuations, or solar wind, is incredible, sometimes reaching speeds of almost 1,000 kilometers per second, which brings us on nicely to the avian flu pandemic, which probably lots of you out there won't even know this is going on, but we have an avian flu pandemic, and it's the only continent it's not appeared on at the moment is Australia, and in some places it's actually killing human beings. So the flu virus is jumping from poultry to humans, and in some cases actually killing them. Avian flu has taken hold in the United States. Alabama found bird flu at 3 poultry facilities after reports last week in Tennessee and Wisconsin. Alabama has found bird flu at 3 poultry facilities in the northern part of the state, its agricultural department said on Tuesday. There were 2 cases detected recently close by in Tennessee. Alabama has not received any definitive test results that confirm its cases are highly pathogenic, which is a more lethal form of the virus for poultry, a spokesman for the Alabama Department of Agriculture and Industry said. Nepal this week has reported an outbreak of severe H5N8 bird flu, resulting in the death of 6,200 hens. Nepal has reported a confirmed outbreak of severe H5N8 bird flu on a poultry farm in the Koshi region. The World Organization for Animal Health said on Monday, citing a report from the Nepalese authorities, the virus killed 3,650 of the 6,200 hens exposed, with the remaining animals culled, the Paris base said. Nepal had already reported last month an outbreak of highly pathogenic H5N1 bird flu among backyard chickens and ducks, and 3 new cases of highly pathogenic avian influenza, HPAI, confirmed in Taiwan this week, as 700,000 birds have been culled there since January and 3 human deaths. 3 new cases of the highly pathogenic avian influenza HPAI were confirmed among poultry in Taiwan on Thursday, the Council of Agriculture said. They include 2 cases involving the H5N2 virus and 1 of the H5N8 strain, the council claimed. 2 suspected human cases of bird flu detected in West Java, Indonesia. Vaccination supplies for only 75,000 of 3 million birds are in the area. Two suspected human cases of bird flu have also been detected in Cirebon, West Java, Barat. The 2 people have been tested in Gunung Yati Hospital, Cirebon isolation room since Sunday, 5th of March 2017. The Health Ministry Director General of Disease Prevention and Control has confirmed the report. And a disturbing outbreak of yellow fever in Brazil is killing humans and monkeys alike, and it's the largest break of yellow fever since the year 2000. At least 137 people have died of yellow fever in the country, amid the largest outbreak Brazil has seen since the year 2000, according to officials. The Health Ministry said Thursday that the number of confirmed cases went up to 424, adding 933 cases and 112 suspected deaths were under investigation. The largest number of infections were recorded in the southeastern state of Minas Gerais, where 325 confirmed cases were reported and 111 people died. Thousands of rare monkeys have also died in the same period. Which brings us down to the last report from the Big Wobble, and it's wildfires, and almost 500,000 acres, or 75% of Clark County in Kansas, have been burnt through wildfires. One person is dead, with up to 9,000 cattle killed. The Oklahoma Forestry Service says 75% of Clark County has burned in wildfires. It amounts to more than 461,000 acres burned. The Forestry Service reports the damage to 34 buildings, 21 homes and 3 bridges. One person died and at least 7 people were hurt in the wildfires. Thousands of cattle were lost. A local veterinarian estimates that anywhere from 3 to 9,000 cattle were killed. However, many of the cattle are now calving, so the actual figure is much higher. What I'm going to do now is just go on to a new page on the Big Wobble, which is called The Wire. And here, what's reported is really the politics and news of the week. And I want to just go over a few things that have been said in the week, especially from the Turkish Prime Minister. And today, President Erdogan from Turkey claimed Europeans would revive gas chambers if they weren't ashamed. That's a terrible thing to say when Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan has once again compared Europe with the Nazis, saying that they would revive gas chambers if they weren't ashamed. He also fired a personal broadside at Angela Merkel, accusing her of Nazi practices. Europe's masquerade ball is over, Erdogan is said to have said at yet another demonstration in Istanbul on Sunday when he rallied support for a yes vote in Turkey's upcoming constitutional referendum. He's also been heard as claiming that Muslims in Europe should not have 3 children each family, but to up it to 5. He has also said that a religious war is unavoidable in Europe, which is really terrible. And in North Korea, we've got another bad guy. North Korean despot Kim Jong-un is acting very, very badly, claims President Donald Trump on Sunday. Trump told reporters travelling with him from Florida to Washington on Air Force One that Kim, who conducted a ground test of a new type of high-thrust rocket engine on Saturday, while U.S. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson was on the continent, is misbehaving. Kim is calling the rocket launch a revolutionary breakthrough for the country's space program. He beamed from ear to ear as his generals applauded the successful test at the Sohae launch site yesterday. The trial was intended to confirm the engine's thrust power and gauge the reliability of its control system and structural safety. And North Korea also yesterday issued a shock war warning that if a single bullet was fired, that North Korea would nuke the US. The North Korea president has pledged to launch a nuclear strike on the US if a single bullet is fired as US forces flood the Korean peninsula. I'm sorry about that. Kim Jong-un's rogue state issued a stunning warning as Washington and South Korea carried out war games in the region. Pyongyang blames the rest of the world for rising nuclear tensions as the DPRK continues its quest for nuclear missiles capable of striking the US mainland. Last week, US President Donald Trump, White House admitted war is now on the table with North Korea. US warships, soldiers and warplanes are carrying out military exercise along with their allies in Seoul. Nuclear-powered aircraft carrier the USS Carl Vinson arrived in the peninsula with its strike group of destroyers. and drills are being carried out to test plans to decapitate the leadership in Pyongyang should the war of words escalate. And today it was reported that Israel have also launched surprise military exercises in the south. On Press TV, which is an Iranian website, have claimed that the Israeli army has conducted 2 drills in the southern part of the occupied territories amid recent tensions in the besieged Gaza Strip and Egypt's Sinai Peninsula. In a statement, the Israel military said it launched a surprise military exercise for reserve forces on Sunday morning that aimed to test the readiness for the Southern Command. There's a lot of tests going on at the moment as London police simulated a Thames boat hijacking in counter-terror exercises on Sunday. London police simulated a hijacking of a terrorist boat on the River Thames on Sunday as part of training for a possible terror attack. The Metropolitan Police said more than 200 officers and staff took part in the exercise on Sunday and also involved other organisations, including the Fire Brigade Ambulance Service and the Coast Guard. It's been claimed this week as well that the cold snap has killed half of the wonderful cherry blossoms in Washington. The iconic cherry blossoms in Washington, which were forecast to bloom early this year because of an unusually warm weather in February, instead endured a cold snap this week, and it's killed half of them. The National Park Service, which maintains the trees, said Friday that the outcome could have been worse and that about half of the blossoms on the Yoshino variety of trees survived. The blossoms are expected to emerge over the next week around the tidal basin in the East Potomac Park and on the grounds of the Washington Monument. And takeoff for police drones. Air Force Remote Control Flying Squad is to chase criminals and hunt for missing police. This is in the UK. The first 24-hour police drone unit is to be launched amid fears that forces may have to rely on them because of falling officer numbers. The flying squad will pursue suspects, find missing people, and help solve murders, Assistant Chief Constable Steve Barry, National Spokesman on Drones, predicted. The National Spokesman on Drones. He predicted forces across Britain would soon be using them as they are cheaper than helicopters and can perform some duties of bobbies on the beat. Well, that was the Big Wobble. I hope you enjoyed the show, and I will see you all next week. Thanks for listening. Goodbye.
No rules, no rules, no taboo topics, no fear of doom, We are American Freedom Radio.